Hello everybody, we're going to talk today about a function that's hidden deep inside of Excel called goal seek. I'm going to use a example of students wanting to know what they're going to need to make on their final exam to get to a 90%. So this is a very simple example with the idea that you can follow along and then recreate it yourself for whatever your uses are. So let's start with John here. He's done pretty good. His average currently is 84. What's he going to have to make on his final test to get to a 90? So the function we're using is called goal seek. It's hidden here under what if analysis. And the simple answer is to set this cell, to set the cell that we want to be 90. We want to tell it we want it to be 90, and we want it to do that by changing what it makes on its final exam. There, you'll see it start trying to figure out the best way to do it, and it gets this to 90, and then he needs to make a 106 on his final exam. Hopefully 106 is a possible answer, but let's assume that it's not, so he's not making a 90. Now, what if you want to do this a bunch of times? Well, you saw the steps here. It doesn't take very long to figure out that this is not going to be the best way to do this. So I started looking at Visual Basic. I had lots of data. At first it looked like I was going to have about 1,500 lines, and it wound up being more like 15,000 lines of individual data points we're going to check. So to solve that, Visual Basic seemed to be the only way to go. I found lots of tutorials on Goal Seeker, but not necessarily on using Visual Basic with Goal Seeker. So I had to go out and kind of figure some of this out myself, and I am not a guru by any stretch of the imagination, but I can usually work through and figure some things out if I need to. So here's the first version of what I learned. The first number here in the range, the F2, if you'll see here, F2 is going to be the number that you want it to change to match. So you want it to be a 90. So the second one is, you'll notice up here I've got an I1. I've got a desired score. I made an I1 for each one. Now if you want to, you could make that if each one of these rows had a different desired number. Say some of them had a goal of 75, some of them had a goal of 78, whatever it is. They could change that and use some of the same logic. Instead of saying I1, it could be I and then 3, 4, 5, whatever, to make it work out. And then the last thing here is the cell that needs to be changed. Of course, that's E here. So why don't we run through and run the goal seek limited. I'm going to show you goal seek looped next. It zips through, knocks it right out of the park. This is exactly what you want to see. You want to see it knock this stuff out and do it very quickly. Now, but what if you had a situation like I did, where you need 1,500 lines, where you need 15,000 lines? Well, then suddenly this macro doesn't really work, and so we're starting to look at the next version. And for me, the next version was this. So I've never used ranges and dims that much. I learned a little bit about them on this and made it work, but it's not really my strong suit. But essentially, you get the dim I is for as long, and then you replace I as your number of rows. So if we're doing the exact same as up here, F's first, then I, then E. So it's the exact same formula, so to speak, but we replace I for the row numbers. Now, if you want, once again, if you had it where you were sitting, and in my particular case, I was looking for particular amounts in each row, then you would do I and then equals, or I and, excuse me, you would do I the number or the column, and then I, the little I, to be the dim, and that would make it all work. So I did it through 200 here. We have nowhere near 200. So what if your numbers go up and down? Once again, I was in that boat. It errors out at the end if you don't. So when it errors, I have it where it resumes next. And the next thing it does is it goes in. And I was having it remove negatives, but here I just thought I'd be cutesy. I set a different, this is actually a different macro. And set J and J so that if it's over 100, an impossible score, then I'll set it back to tell them you're not making an A. And I was just being funny there. But let's see how that works. Let's remove these guys first. Macro, goal seek, loop. Boom, knocks it right out. You saw it hits there for half a second. It put it in there, and then it says you're not making an A. Now, if you tried to run this again and left that you're not making A in there, it'll error out because it wants all numbers. But if you want to run it again and again, you could. Like I said, when you run this on 15,000, it's going to take it a minute to figure out. But it worked out pretty good. I hope this is clear, and I hope you all understand. If you got any questions, I'll do my best to help you. But once again, I'm not a huge Visual Basic geek. I just figured this out and thought I'd share. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.